Hi, this is Andrew Kincaid, the original co-host of TechNow for the first 17 episodes way back in 2013 and 2014. And yes, I'm still working here at ServiceNow. It is my honor to wish Chuck all the best in his retirement and to kick off his final TechNow episode showcasing the Xanadu release with Lauren, Earl, Pranav, and of course, Chuck.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. It is an honor to be here for episode 98 of TechNow. This is the web series where we bring you all kinds of ServiceNow platform tips for builders and developers and admins. We've got our Xanadu release to look at today. Very, very cool stuff coming. Lots of Gen AI. That was the first question in the Q&A panel. What's new in Gen AI? You've got an hour to find out. We were just joking offline when that one came in. So let's do some quick housekeeping and introductions. First, the safe harbor notice. This is forward-looking. It is early availability date. This is recorded as of August 1st, 2024. And we have general availability coming out on September 10th. So we invite you to use the link if you're watching live in the resource panel. Otherwise, we will have a link in the description to our community release and upgrades pages. Don't base any purchasing decisions on this, You can read all through it. I think some even made a temporary tattoo of this for fun. That's the safe harbor statement. I think I've legally covered it. Let's get on with the introductions. My name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate, at least for 36 more days at ServiceNow. As I roar rapidly towards retirement, this is my last TechNow webinar. Very sad, mixed emotions today. And I've been with the company since 2010, was a customer for a couple of before that, and a long, long history in IT and tech that I'm happy to share with sometime if we ever get together. Our paths cross again. But to keep it short, I am going to turn it over to the lovely Lauren.
Hey, everybody. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. My name is Lauren McManamon. I am also a senior developer advocate here at ServiceNow. I am a former ServiceNow customer myself as well, but spent a lot of time on the Creator Workflows Solution Consulting team prior to joining the Advocates 2 years ago. I have a lot of fun hobbies. I really like photography of all kinds, as evidenced by my Fujifilm sitting here on my desk. I also am training for my sake sommelier test still. That was there last year. Need to make a little bit more progress. And also, you might be graced with my little Bichon Frise's presence here as well. So if you do, be sure to say hi to Bo in the chat. And on to Mr. Earl Duque.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. I am Earl Duque, and I'm also your senior developer advocate here at ServiceNow. I've worked on the platform as a developer from 2016 to 2021 before joining the company. But before joining, I was a hackathon aficionado, and I was one of the original developer MVPs. But since joining ServiceNow, you can see me helping with developer and community programs like Hacktoberfest, or assisting the MVP community, or making silly or technical videos for you all. About me personally, I love all things games. I love building weird stuff on ServiceNow, and I love any of the things you see in my video background, like my Lego or 3D printing. But most importantly, I am a proud father of 2 girls who are now 1 and 4 years old. And one last fun fact about me, tomorrow is my 3-year anniversary at ServiceNow. And I will now pass it off to Pranav.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pranav Bhagat, and I'm also Senior Developer Advocate here at ServiceNow. I have close to 8 years of ServiceNow experience. I started as a software engineer, then moved into consulting. And just prior to joining ServiceNow, I was working with a customer and was helping them with an implementation. I'm also an ex-MVP like Earl, and which I'm really proud of. And apart from my work, I love to walk, do box, play video games, and travel to different places. And that's pretty much about me. Now I'm going to pass it back to Chuck.
All righty. We have one other member of the team that is joining us officially today. She's on the webinar in the background answering Q&A and happily chatting on our Teams chats there. This is Christy Merriam. You may know her from CreatorCon, where she's done the IoT Garden, the Lego Sorter, had a hand in LiquorBot, been on the keynote stage. Not her first rodeo. She just chatted in the other chat. I'm divulging some information. Said I felt like an honorary member of the team for a while now, and it's nice to be official. It is official today, so please welcome Christy, and we will bring her on future productions, and you should be seeing a lot more of her coming up. Very excited to see what she brings to the team. Lots of new ideas, lots of creative thoughts. We're very eager to put her on the track and get her rolling. All right, today's agenda, real quick, we are going to be covering a lot of stuff, mainly centered around Gen AI. I'm not going to read every bullet item to you. You can see there's analytics generation and app generation, along with some lovely developer tools like ServiceNow Studio and the SDK. So looking forward to that. We will try to answer your questions live. Please put them in the Q&A panel so we don't miss them in the chat. If they're in the Q&A panel, they're a little more persistent, a little stickier. We'll see them there, and we will answer them. If we don't get the chance to answer them, I know these webinars have lots of questions. You guys ask wonderful stuff, and we can't always answer it live, or we need to bring in an SME. We will answer those offline in the next few days and get those posted to the community. You can find the link to this video and all the Q&A when we get that posted at devlink.sn/technow. It's going to be right at the top of the list because it's the most recent one. Quick plug for the podcast. If you're not already listening to it, our next episode is going to feature, guess who? Christy. That's right. We've got that coming up on the 10th. Looking forward to that. devlink.sn/breakpoint is where you can find that. Lauren and I have talked to a number of people for the last 4 years, over 100 episodes, and we're going to keep that rolling into the future. So looking forward to seeing you there and hearing your feedback. Another quick plug before we get into the Xanadu content. If you are an App Engine customer, we would love to hear from you, and you get a little token reward of $25 in reward. Scan the QR code or use the link at the bottom to create a G2 review. Think of it like Yelp of enterprise software, where you say, I love App Engine, and this is why. And others can use that for their kind of like a mini customer testimonial, if you will. Some FAQs, we get a lot of questions. Like I said, a lot of great questions. A lot of them are common, and a lot of them we can't answer. Like, how much is this going to cost? We can't answer that because it will be online forever. Imagine if we had put pricing information in Dublin in 2013 or 14 or whatever it was. Like, that's way out of date. So we're not going to put that in here because somebody could come along later and say, why did they say this on TechNow? If you want accurate information for pricing and packaging and SKUs and all that salesy stuff, talk to your sales account team. They'll know more information about your particular situation and your pricing level and whatever else they do in sales. I don't know. I was in sales for a total of about 18 months and never got close to a price sheet. So we also will not be covering all of the features in Xanadu. Man, that would take a long time. That would take a really long time. We have less than 1 hour now that I'm rambling on. Let's move on. We are going to be covering the things that developers and admins are interested in because, hey, we're developers and admins too. We will be having more information about the other features, whether it's customer service or employee service or IT, whatever. That's coming out closer to that September 10th event that I talked about earlier. So keep your eye on that community webpage and smash those reaction buttons like you already are doing like crazy. There were over 1,000 reactions before we got started. I don't know what you guys are cheering for, but here it is. It's coming right at you with Xanadu. We are going to bring this in first with a guest intro because I am going to be talking about the new ServiceNow Studio that's coming up in Store Release 2. And you asked for more demos. We're bringing you more demos. Here we go.
Happy day. I'm Andrew Barnes from ServiceNow. You might remember me from my time as a developer advocate or the Developer MVP program. These days, I'm a director of product management for our new ServiceNow Studio, coming out in Xanadu Store Release 2. So hold on to your socks as Chuck is going to highlight some of the great features we have in store for you in our first release later this year.
All right, to get started with ServiceNow Studio, we are going to go to the All menu, type in Studio. You can see we've got the old legacy Dev Studio under System Applications, and we've got ServiceNow Studio under, of course, ServiceNow Studio. Comes up in a brand new tab, nice, clean, new interface. I'm going to jump right into it, and I'll get to some of these features in just a second. We'll go over here on the upper right and click Create App, and I can create an application. I'm going to call this one TechNow X. We'll give it an icon, of course, so we can tell it apart from the other applications, and click continue. And just like App Engine Studio, just like Guided App Creator, it creates an application, and I can see the actual application files in here. And if I open any one of those, like this particular role, I get a new tab, and I've got the role definition for that. Very easy. I'd love to show you more, but not all of it's hooked up in this release. Very, very early version. But what I did do is I'm going to pull a cooking show on you and take a look at what I did build in this Xanadu demo app, which I can open that information on a new tab here. Over on the left, I've got access to it from the applications menu. And it shows me all of the individual components between the access controls. Rather than just a straight up list like that, I can look at it in a nice tree structured format here. So let's open up, say, the subflow, and I get Workflow Studio right in ServiceNow Studio. This is the way it's going to be for Table Builder, and a lot of these different tools that we use in different locations will all be centralized right here. If I want to, say, create a new one, I can go Create, File, pick the scope, Xanadu Demo, Automation, Subflow, and away we go. Brings up that window here as well. You can see I've got tabs building along the top. I can mix and match different scopes. So say, for example, I did want to open the role in TechNow. I can be looking at one file from the TechNow X application. I can be looking at one file from the Xanadu demo application. And I can even, I bookmarked earlier, I can even open things from the global scope. Say, the sysuser table definition. And if I want to see those more in a grouped format where they're not so higgledy-piggledy, mumbo-jumbo, I can go to my profile and turn on this group by, and I get this nice broad color. They're all grouped together, so all the purple stuff is going to be from one scope, all the orange stuff is going to be from another scope. You get the idea there. Very easy to organize. Now, I want to show you a little bit about searching, and we looked at bookmarks briefly. Anything from this recently opened, I can do as a bookmark. Anything from the recent over here, I can bookmark as well. Very easy to do. From the search, I can look for a table. Let's say I want to look for access control. I don't know. Let's see what it comes up with. And it says, do you want files? Do you want tables? It will even put in tools and apps and whatnot in here if it finds that in those scopes. I can turn on code search. Let's say somewhere I remember seeing the word toaster, and I'm going to turn that on and look for toaster. I've got my code search in here. Comes back and says, yes, I found that in a script include. Would you like to open that up? Yes, I would. See, there's a toaster in here. It found it in the code. I love it. Almost forgot. When you're ready to deploy, we've got deployment over here on the front page. Update sets, management there should be familiar. And again, I get a list of my applications. So if I ever wanted to jump back to that page for the TechNow X application files and start looking at them that way, very easy to navigate. I'm very happy with the way this is turning out, and I'm sure it's going to be much better when we get to Store Release 2 in Q4. So that's ServiceNow Studio, and we've got more coming at you. I'm going to turn it over to Earl to talk about the SDK.
Nice. So thanks, Chuck. I'm really excited for what I get to demo for you coming up next, because I feel like I am almost doing as much development outside of ServiceNow as I am doing inside. So this is actually really exciting stuff for me. So before I jump into SDK version 2 and the Visual Studio IDE or ServiceNow IDE, another word from one of our guests.
Hi, everyone. This is Dave Slusher, founding developer advocate for the developer program at ServiceNow, now blissfully retired. I was also TechNow co-host from 2016 to 2019. When I started with ServiceNow developer program, it was about 3 weeks before Geneva was released, which introduced Studio and changed how you did everything. Today, I'm introducing Earl Duque, who will dive into SDK version 2 and the Visual Studio IDE coming in Xanadu. Back when I was doing this, you had this trade-off you had to make in doing ServiceNow development, which is you have all the great power of the platform and forget every bit of tooling you've ever used in your career. In my case, 20 years up to that point. So I'm delighted that that is no longer the case, and I'm envious that you all will have these tools. Here's Earl.
Thanks, Dave. Love you, man. So I have 2 updates that I want to show you all today. It's going to be really fun. The first is the ServiceNow IDE. That's right. We have a full IDE now sitting inside of ServiceNow. This is Visual Studio Code implemented inside our ServiceNow instances that we know and love. And I'm going to go ahead and demo it to you. I'm going to go ahead and start by creating a new workspace. While I'm doing this, I'm also going to show off the ServiceNow SDK version 2. But anyways, here's my new workspace. If you're familiar with GitHub or Visual Studio, this is where you'll be able to do all the normal stuff that you're used to. So full source control, you could pull from repositories, you can clone existing repositories, and you'll be able to do all of that stuff within this IDE. But for this demo, I'm going to go ahead and create a new app. I'm going to name it TechNow, because this is a TechNow demo, of course. Give it a short description here. Give it a scope name. And then it's going to bootstrap some of the app for me, including a little bit of a demo. And it's going to create some schema, some underlying files. It's going to incorporate all of the ServiceNow code that we know and love, including all of the different modules that we'll need, like glide record and glide system and a bunch of extra stuff. So you'll see that in my starter script that it already had given me access to business roles and client scripts. And so I'm going to write a client script right now. You'll notice that I'm running it in a different format called Fluent. It's new in this SDK v2. One of the cool things also is because this is all inside of our environment, when I start typing, it has all the cool stuff that we know and love, like showing us exactly what is available to us. So when I typed type, it knew to give me the option of onload, and I can write my scripts directly into this. So if I hit the build button, in the background, our new Fluent way of doing things inside of the SDK will build my version of this app and then deploy it immediately. And now within the environment, without having to leave, I can actually go check out my meta records and actually see them in UI. And it goes both ways. That's right. So what I'm going to be able to do is type in this script field and then save it. And then when I go back, you'll see that it automatically updates because we want to make sure there's one source of truth for the records and that they're always in sync. So it's a really cool way to edit our client scripts, business roles, and different, all via script, all via this new IDE that is built directly into ServiceNow. So a lot more attractive to some of us that are used to these traditional development methods. So on the next example, I'm going to create a business rule. And the thing I wanted to show you in this example is that you'll notice that I have my normal IntelliSense, but I have those red squigglies because it's telling me that I don't have enough information yet that it needs for it to successfully build a business rule. It's all built into this framework. And so you'll see that I keep having those red squigglies until I finish typing my fourth property, which is when, and I'm going to put after, and then all that squigglies go away. And so now it knows that I'm going to be able to create this business rule without causing an error. Okay, the next thing I want to show is that script, I can actually go to this other file that I have, script.js, and you'll see that it already has some ServiceNow script written into it. And instead of having to put it all in this one file, I can actually call show state update from my other file, as long as I say import show state update from this other script.js file. And there you go. Now I'll be able to even control click or command click through to find that exact function. So I'm going to go ahead and finish writing this business rule and build. And just like that client script, I'm going to go ahead and reveal it in the other window. And here's my brand new business rule that I made entirely out of script. And just like before, I can add a new change, build it again, and then if I refresh my record, we'll see that delete was added to my action. And just like we did before, I can go into my script file now, and entirely in JavaScript, in its own file, I have the script that I want to use. So I can make updates to this script.js file and build the application and see that it will automatically get pushed over to the business role. And now I have a dedicated JavaScript file just for that script. There it is. Earl says hi. And now I will round this off and say bye, but last things I want to mention is that in this new Fluent framework, we don't just have client scripts and business rules. We are able to actually build several new things, including ACLs, lists, REST API, and even entire tables. We can build an entire table via this scripting interface. Awesome, and that's the SDK v2 and new ServiceNow IDE. And now I will pass it over to Lauren.
Awesome. Thank you, Earl. And of course, thank you, Chuck, for kicking off this webinar with a bang. We are going to take a momentary pause, but there's some fantastic questions rolling in, so we want to keep them coming in and see if we can address them along the way. But while we wait, we also want to draw your attention to some recent changes at ServiceNow and also how they're going to affect TechNow moving forward through Yokohama and beyond. Also, side note, that's not just a random robot. In the city of Yokohama, Japan, they have a fully scaled, built-out Gundam, and that is a picture of that. So take a quick peek on that on Google Images. It's pretty cool. Now, simply put, releases don't really look like what they used to when this series was founded. Not only has there been a dramatic increase in the confidence of earlier patches, but with the addition of the ServiceNow store, we as a company are bringing you more updates more consistently and also much more frequently throughout the year versus those two big drops, right, that we used to always do. Now, you've seen each release have these two additional store releases for the last year or so, and there's even the potential for that to become more frequent. So keep an eye on that as well. TechNow for a while has been the place to go for all things developer for new release. But with the new speed of development, we realized that we're no longer really pacing as we should to meet this demand. Because of this, in this episode, as you've seen already, we are trying out a brand new format, one that's going deeper and more visually into the biggest aspects of an upcoming release. And we're really, really excited to hear your feedback because, case in point, this new format is pretty much based off of the feedback we had gotten previously. People wanted demos, people wanted to see the new stuff, so we're trying this out here. The state of tech now is still a bit in flux, so we appreciate your patience, of course, and welcome any ideas that might be on the top of your mind to keep the show as valuable and as timely as it has always been. So I'm going to use this as an opportunity to say, please do not forget to fill out your surveys. And with that, I will also bring up my team and say, hey, is there any Q&A questions that we'd like to address live here today?
There's a lot.
There is a lot. Chuck or Pranav as well. Did you see any ones you'd like to highlight here live on screen, or should we move on to the next segment?
We'll take a quick look. We had a few flagged. Go ahead, Earl.
Yeah, the one, just because it was the most recent topic, I see a question asking, will we have this as in the SDK v2 available as a plugin for VS Code? Yes, so you don't need the ServiceNow IDE, the new IDE, to utilize the new SDK. So if you're used to using NPM packages or anything like that, the new SDK version will be available as a downloadable package that you can use in VS Code on your own machine. You don't actually need the ServiceNow Studio. I just did the demo in the ServiceNow IDE to show off both things at once. So you don't need to have one for the other, basically.
I also see another fun question. Lots of questions about PDI stuff. One question that is like a theme is, when is Gen AI stuff going live on PDIs? Currently, Gen AI stuff is not going live on PDIs, but keep keep informed in the ServiceNow community. That could always change, but currently that is something that's not available. But we are also trying to make it more accessible through events and through things like the CreatorCon India event as well that are coming up. So I would say plugged in on event news as well. Also for PDIs, I saw a couple of questions of when is this going live, the Xanadu release on PDIs. Today is EA. Historically, it has been made available for PDIs on EA date. I will try my best on LinkedIn to also make note of when Xanadu is officially available on PDIs. So keep your eyeballs on LinkedIn as well.
We had a question about ServiceNow Studio as well. Is this replacing the traditional studio? The answer is no, not at the moment. You can use both. And that related to another question that I was starting to see a theme about regarding GitHub or source control integration. I was told by the product team that's not scheduled to be available in Store Release 2, which is the first official release of ServiceNow Studio, but they are working on that. They do recognize that as a gap and a popular one as well. So as a workaround for now, you could always import your code through the traditional studio. Both will be available, and then work on it in ServiceNow Studio if you wanted to gain some experience with that. Next topic.
All righty. Well, with that, I'll be kicking the ball off to Pranav and our next special guest as well.
All right. Thanks, Lauren and Earl and Chuck. Those two were amazing topics. But I have one thing that I feel like it's a game changer. But before that, let's hear it from our guest.
Hello, my name is Brad Tilton, and I'm a former developer advocate here at ServiceNow. I know reporting can sometimes feel a bit tricky, but we've got some exciting new things to share in the world of platform analytics. So here's Pranav to talk about some of the new features in analytics generation. Thanks.
Thanks, Brad. And Brad mentioned about analytics generation. If I have to explain you in simple, now you can utilize text and just create reports through it. When I saw this thing for the first time, I was surprised. But I have recorded a quick demo for you, so let's go into it now. All right, for the purpose of this demo, I have created an empty dashboard. Now we're going to ask NowAssist to add data visual to it. For our first use case, I would like to see all the incidents in a bar chart format grouped by category. So now let's click on the NowAssist button in the navigation bar. It opens up a dialog box. I'm going to pin this up. Now, I'm going to click on this Create a Data Visualization button. Now, I'm going to give it a prompt of bar chart on incident table. Now, you can see it has given us an option to specify a breakdown field for our report. In our case, it will be category. And here you go. It just created us a visual. Now we can click on this Add to Dashboard button to add it to our dashboard. And let's resize it. All right, for our second use case, we're going to try it on a custom table. You might have seen me and other advocates join different developer meetups. So to track those meetups, I have created a custom table called developer meetups. Now, for our visual, we like to see a list of all the developer meetups. So let's ask NowAssist to do it. Firstly, we're going to reset this conversation. Now, let's click on Create a Data Visualization. And I'm going to ask NowAssist now list of developer meetups. And there you go. Our list is now ready. Let's add it to our dashboard. And you can see now we have a list. Now, for our final use case, we're going to utilize the same custom table, and we're going to create a pie chart of all the developer meetups grouped by region. Let's clear this conversation again. And I'm going to click on Create a Data Visualization. Now, I'm going to ask NowAssist to create a pie chart on developer meetups. It has asked us to specify a breakdown field. Let's specify it region. And you can see it has generated as a pie chart. Let's add it to the dashboard. And there you go. We were able to generate 3 different types of visual using NowAssist in a matter of few minutes. And that's what I have for you in analytic generation. Now I'm going to pass it back to Lauren to show us app generation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pranav. But we cannot start, of course, without another fantastic piece of hype. So I'll kick it to Jeremy.
Hey friends, what's up? It's Jeremy Duncan here. For those who don't know me, I'm a senior solution architect on the Workflow Design Studio team here at ServiceNow. And I've had the privilege of helping Chuck host over 26 episodes of TechNow over the years. I've been an evangelist and a lover of this platform for over 13 years now, and I've seen the speed of development. I've seen the quality of content coming out of the platform just increase exponentially over the years. I've seen developers of all levels be able to build their dreams on our platform. I've been able to help hundreds of customers realize their dreams are even possible on the platform. And it's because of that that I get to introduce the rocket fuel coming in Xanadu, which is NowAssist for Creator. So back to you, Lauren.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeremy, for being the perfect hype man. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we're adapting, we're changing, so TechNow is adapting and changing as well. The store releases allow developers to receive the most consistent, steady flow of improvements throughout the year. But sometimes, let's admit it, the later store releases might sometimes allow us to let things slip through the cracks. So allow me to spotlight one of the biggest enhancements of the Washington release, and of course, sprinkle in the improvements that Xanadu has made further upon that. Of course, as Jeremy said, I am referring to the NowAssist app generation capability. So let's see what we got going on. Showcased as one of our key highlights in the CreatorCon keynote, app generation is finally here. By thoroughly describing an application and answering some prompts in the NowAssist panel, ServiceNow is now capable, through the power of generative AI, of creating entire applications on your behalf in App Engine Studio. It can fulfill the needs of both boilerplate applications like this, normal employee time off tracker, and wild fantasies alike, like this app I made to track my Bichon's various grooming tasks. Those who upgrade to the GA version of Xanadu will be happy to find a whole host of improvements. Firstly, the context switching between the NowAssist panel and App Engine Studio has been made much more seamless, both in the loading time department as well as the inclusion of transition animations. In addition to this, a whole repertoire of UI indicators have been created to help enforce best practices. While a powerful tool, all generated content should be reviewed by human developers prior to deployment. So now, not only are all the generated assets clearly marked, but developers will also be prompted to perform these reviews prior to pushing their new applications. And that is not all. Store Release 2 of Xanadu has another big wave of exciting refinements. Chuck just showcased one of them, the next frontier for app development, ServiceNow Studio. And I am really excited to say that app generation will be made accessible from this new IDE in the upcoming months. In addition to this, an app preview tab is being added to the NowAssist panel. Here, NowAssist will clearly itemize all of the application files that will be rendered per your request, as well as create a visual estimate of how things will look and feel prior to execution. This will allow developers the ability to better fine-tune their apps prior to pulling the trigger on creation. Finally, up until this point, app generation has only concerned itself with building brand new apps. Therefore, I eagerly await this upcoming store release, as with it comes the ability to harness AI to improve upon existing applications. What specifically it can change and improve upon will, of course, roll out in waves, but it will start with the ability to create tables, both from scratch as well as through extension, and the ability to create new metadata as well. Well, ServiceNow is moving full steam ahead, obviously, with harnessing AI to improve your lives as developers. So in addition to preaching about all these awesome tools, I would also like to plug some very helpful resources to kind of get you started with AI, as I myself am doing. One huge highlight, my colleague Earl has spent the entire month of July, AI, creating countless prompt generating, an entire prompt library with alongside of the developer community here at ServiceNow. In this prompt library, they have created things to do things in ServiceNow, outside of ServiceNow. On his LinkedIn profile, he also kind of created the top 5 prompts from this effort. So I highly encourage you to check it out using that first QR code on the list. Now, if you're like me, if you're more of a reader, the middle QR code will take you to the NowAssist for Creator docs page. Obviously, the docs page is the unsung hero of a developer's life. Definitely one to bookmark. Finally, if you would also like to get your hands a little bit dirty and start playing around more with NowAssist, we also have the NowAssist Essentials on the Now Learning website. So please enjoy those, learn a bunch, and start diving head straight into your AI journey as well. Now on to you, Earl, for our next big highlight of the day.
Thanks, Lauren. Again, I got to demo all the really fun stuff that I really like. So one of the things that I've constantly been saying to our internal product teams and saying is like, we need a way to be able to prompt, thanks to Lauren for the plug, by the way, prompt our LLMs ourselves. And so I'm happy to demo NowAssist Skill Kit. But first, again, another intro from one of our guests.
Ready? Hey folks, I'm Jace. I'm working on ServiceNow since forever, pushing the boundaries and doing all sorts of other fun stuff. This year I've been building a lot with generative AI. Speaking of generative AI, let me bring up Earl Duque. He's got something to tell you about skill kits and prompting.
Okay, thanks, Jace. Hi, everyone. It's Earl again. So one of the things that I wanted to show off for you today is something that I'm very excited about, especially any of you that have been playing with Gen AI in or outside of ServiceNow. But the thing that we're gaining access to in Xanadu is the NowAssist Skill Kit. And in here, we are able to finally prompt our large language models entirely with the prompts that we want to build ourselves instead of using the generic summarization skills and all that kind of thing. So you can see here on the screen, I'm creating my own prompt right now. I'm creating my own NowAssist skill, and I'm able to do exactly what I want it to do. I'm able to tell it how long I want it to be. I'm giving it the exact information that I want from the incident record. I am formatting it in the way I want it to format. And then the fun part, too, after I finish typing in the description and priority that I want to have it summarize, is that I can actually have fun with it, too. So one of the visual indicators that I like to have in these summarizations is an emoji. Just so I know when I saw that emoji, I remember this case kind of thing. I remember this incident. So from within the skill kit, NowAssist skill kit, I can actually run my prompts and actually test them against incidents that we have inside of our instance. And you can see it worked right here. It provided the summary as I described it and gave me emoji like I asked for it. And so to continue with this demo, I can name the prompt how I want it to be named, so it can show up inside of NowAssist admin panel. It can also show up as you'll see here when we get to UI actions. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and save it and go ahead and finalize this prompt so that I know that I've finished editing it so that other people won't break it. And then I'm going to jump into skill settings. In the skill settings, you can see here is where I would also do processors, preprocessors, and post-processors. So I can actually take the results of what the prompt gave me and then change it to something else before it gets to the user. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug it into one of the NowAssist workflows. And then I'm going to say, hey, I want to create a UI action for this so I can access it directly from the classic UI. So I'm going to create that UI action, and then I'm going to publish this skill. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump into our NowAssist admin panel and activate that skill. I'm going to find it as TechNow because that's what I named it for this webinar. And I'm going to turn it on for everything so I can see it and everything. But next, I want to show you what it looks like on the incident side. Since I did make this an incident skill, I'm going to go activate it for that and then jump back to, and then jump into the incident table. And then I'm going to go into the incidents and activate it. I'm going to go into the UI actions, and activate it. And then also update this placeholder info message and actually insert the result into the work notes. And save this. Jump back to my incident in question and use that new UI action for TechNow. And let's see if it works. My emoji and then my description and priority. And there you go. Now assist a skill kit.
Before we move into the next section, let's quickly hear from our guest.
Hi, I'm Craig Stepp, and over the years, I've been part of more than 70 TechNow episodes, talking about a lot of random cool features and some interesting topics. Well, today, I'm excited to turn it over to Pranav. He's going to talk about a lot of new fantastic features in the Xanadu release that I'm sure developers will really love.
Thanks, Craig. So now here are some of the random stuff from the Xanadu release that we were able to find for you all. And let me go through in a lightning round the OG way. So for the first one, previously developers could utilize ECMAScript 2021 only if it was enabled for a scoped application. Now they can use it even for applications that use ES5 standards or the compatibility mode by just selecting the turn on ECMAScript mode from the individual script record. And you can now utilize the arrow syntax and everything in your global applications also. Talking about mobile platform, this feature was requested by many, including myself. Developer now has the ability to set or autofill the value of one or more fields based on the user input from the other fields in mobile app. For example, based on the impact and urgency, the priority field should be automatically populated. Another cool update from the mobile department is now you can utilize user criteria in your mobile app. If you're wondering what user criteria is, user criteria helps in dynamically controlling the access or visibility based on specific conditions such as location, company, department, and other stuff. You remember Access Analyzer from like 2 releases back? So it has got a new trick in its back. Access Simulator is the newest edition which lets developers simulate access changes before they make the actual change. This enables the developers to verify the effectiveness of change and ultimately reduce the risk. This is my personal favorite, to be honest, like this one and the studio. These were the two main things that I really liked about this. Moving on, we have a new type of ACL called deny unless ACL. If you are on LinkedIn, you might have seen it, like people were sharing from the current release note that was released. So coming to this particular ACL, this will be evaluated first and will deny the access by default. So if the deny ACL denies the access, the data will be filtered out from the results. So if you combine the OG ACL, the allow ACL with the deny unless ACL, you will be able to create powerful and flexible access control on the platform. We have all seen like a Gen AI can write and update text, which saves us a lot of time. I use it all the time. I use ChatGPT for all my writing and everything. So as an agent, like when they're working on a particular case, they have to respond to the cases quickly. So NowAssist can help the agents reply to those emails quickly. So they can easily elaborate or shorten a particular email with just a click of button. This feature will increase agents' productivity and improve the overall service quality. Another useful feature for the agents is the ability to create knowledge articles from multiple cases. Currently, we had an option to create a knowledge article using NowAssist for a single case. But with the Xanadu release, they can now create like a knowledge or resolution article using multiple incidents. This particular thing will be super helpful during major incidents or cases when you have to review multiple incidents or cases to create a comprehensive knowledge resolution article. And catalog item generation. I saw a question about catalog item generation that somebody has seen it. So yeah, you have surely seen it because this was actually released in the May 2024 store release. But I wanted to point this out and mention in this particular webinar because I have built so many catalog items throughout my career. And some of these catalog items had over 40 plus variables. So I kind of understand the pain of creating a catalog item. So with NowAssist, you can now easily generate catalog item with just a single prompt. And if you can see on the screen, I have added a prompt. And now, as soon as the prompt is processed, you can see a catalog item is generated. And that's pretty much that was amazing when I tried it for the first time. I was thinking like when it was like why ServiceNow didn't release it when I was on the developing side. Anyway, that's all we have for you from the Xanadu release. Now let's look into some of the questions if we have. Earl, did you saw any questions?
Yeah, so thanks, Pranav. And all right, everyone, now we're getting into our Q&A time. Make sure to stick around till the end, though, because Chuck will be giving us a last message. But for now, you all have been submitting a million of questions, and we love it. We've been doing our best to answer your questions live. Especially shout out to Derek, Hillary, and Chrissy, and all of our TechNow support team behind the scenes. They're answering questions along with us this entire time. We're going to answer as many as we can live now, but if we don't get to your question, remember, don't worry, because we do indeed go through and answer all of your questions eventually, and we post them on the TechNow blog. Just give us like a week or two, though, and then we'll get all those questions answered. Because some of these questions, we're not ignoring you. We just don't know the answer, and we don't want to give you the wrong answer. So what we usually do is we talk to our product management, our internal engineers, and we ask them those specific questions that you have, because they're all great questions. We just need some time to get to actually answer some of those ones that we don't know top of our mind. Okay.
Particularly, that's
All right,
in the
team,
realm of.
Let's kick it off.
Oh,
what was that?
I was just gonna say that's particularly we see a very high amount of questions regarding like, will this require a plugin? Will this require me to do X, Y, or Z? Xanadu came out for us today too, so we're not quite sure. So on those in particular, we'll follow back with the product team's advice on that. So thank you for the patience.
All right, let's kick off the questions. Did anybody have one right away? I have like a few, but I'll let someone else answer a question first.
Yeah, I think I see this question like a couple of times. And like, can you create multiple catalog items at the same time using the catalog item generation? So what I tried when I tried, you can only generate one catalog item at a time. If you have to generate multiple, it's like you have to put the prompt and everything in a different way. And I don't find a use case where you have to create multiple catalog items from just the same prompt. So yeah, you can create just one.
Nice. I had like 20 people asking, can the ServiceNow Studio be integrated with GitHub? Yes, it's all sitting there. ServiceNow Studio, the SDK, the ServiceNow IDE, all of that has source control integrated throughout it. And especially with the SDK and stuff like that, you should be using source control for that stuff.
We're going to need to double check that one, Earl.
What was that?
We're going to need to double check that one. I was told by the product manager that the first release of the SDK will not include source control. The one that's coming out in store release 2. So they are working on that, but that will be
the ServiceNow Studio?
ServiceNow Studio, yes.
Okay, the SDK definitely is source control then. So,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
also another question someone had is, can the SDK be used outside of the ServiceNow Studio, ServiceNow IDE? And that's yes, you can use SDK in your own Visual Studio code.
Sorry, that was a Washington release as well. Yeah. Now, I got one that says, there's so many studios, I'm now getting confused. Can you summarize which ones are intended for whom and what? That is a very valid question, and one that we throw to the product teams as well. Like, hey, here comes another one. What's the message on this? So we've got App Engine Studio. We've got Workflow Studio. We've got the original Studio. We've got now ServiceNow Studio, and we've got Creator Studio. There's a lot of stuff. In a nutshell, Creator Studio, very simple request apps. Catalog item, table, pretty much done. Think of it that way. Great for your no-code developers to get a request out and divert some of your IT backlog to citizen developers, as it were. The traditional studio is still there. You can modify everything from a UI action to a UI policy to a table. Lots of stuff happening there. It's not going anywhere. If you're familiar with that, you're welcome to keep using it. The Workflow Studio is the new generation of Flow Designer and Process Automation Designer, and a lot of these things that are automation oriented put into one. So if you're dealing with automation, that's where you would go, as Workflow Studio. A lot of that, I should go back to App Engine Studio, which came out, about 3-4 years ago. That was our first attempt at a low-code environment, and it is still available as well. Requires additional licensing. Talk to your account team. There, put my footnote in. And the new one, ServiceNow Studio, is our first foray to answer a lot of this and consolidate it. Why are we going to one browser tab for workflows and one browser tab for tables and one browser tab for... Let's bring it all together into one consolidated environment. So think of that as the new Dev Studio from legacy days, going back to Geneva or Helsinki, whatever it was, and including many of the features from App Engine Studio and incorporating Workflow Studio into that same shell, as it were. It even update set management, as I briefly demonstrated earlier. So did I miss any, team?
I think you nailed it. I think that was perfect.
Okay, good. Hope that clears it up. Bookmark that. Next question.
I think we have time for maybe one or two more.
I think so.
Another question that I think, I'll take this one. So somebody asked, Access Simulator available from store, or is it part of the Xanadu release? So basically, Access Simulator is part of the store app called Access Analyzer. So if you have the store app Access Analyzer installed in your environment, you will be able to access the Access Simulator. So many access in it. So I hope that answers it.
Another quick one.
A lot of people are asking if external libraries are available in the SDK. Yep, specific ones are. So a lot of the more commonly used ones are available. This was actually in the last release, but we're getting this question a lot. Yes, you can use external libraries, just very specific, not very specific. All the common ones are available, which is really fun for us that use external libraries all the time.
One more quick thing that I just want to cover. This is my last TechNow, as was announced earlier. 98 episodes. I think I missed one somewhere. Dave and Craig had to cover for me on one of them. And then there was that Washington thing where I just appeared at the end. I don't know if I count that or not. But thank you for everything over the last 14 years. Everybody has made me feel very, very special. I am humbled to be treated with such reverence. In my opinion, I put the dishes in the dishwasher and comb my hair the same way everybody else does. Nothing special. Inside my chest beats the heart of a developer, and I really, really appreciate everything you've done. I also ask that you give a follow to the developer advocates that are on this webinar: Earl, Pranav, Lauren, and Christy. Don't forget Christy. Please go over to your favorite social media platform, look them up, and follow them so you can stay up to date on things. I may still post here and there and peek in on webinars and podcasts. I'll still be watching from afar. But again, thank you. I will miss you all terribly. I think we're done. Oh, no, I have one more. I have one more slide, and that is the call to action. Ooh, the emotions almost crept up on me. Quick call to action. Today is early availability day as we record this, August 1st, 2024. Upgrade your PDI. You'll see if you go to developer.servicenow and there's manage your instance button, I believe it says, you'll see, hey, Xanadu is now available. Give it a few minutes, it'll do its thing, and you'll have the Xanadu features. Of course, many of the NowAssist features that we showed, app generation, analytics generation, the AI stuff, not available on PDIs yet. Hopefully coming soon. We're working on that. Don't forget to check out the docs, docs.servicenow.com. I believe all of these are in the resource panel, and I will include them in the description on the YouTube video as well. And start exploring. There's a lot of cool stuff out there that we haven't even explored yet. I look forward to seeing what some of the people in the community come up with and go, look what I found in Xanadu. there's this new tool or there's this new button or new system property. That's what we used to cover in 90 slides in about 35 minutes. We gave you some deeper demos this time. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let us know in the comments and the feedback. We'd love to hear your feedback on how we can make this better in the future. But that brings us to the top of the hour. Thank you, Earl. Thank you, Pranav. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, everybody who's working behind the scenes to answer the questions and get this going. It has truly been a blessing and an honor. Until next time, take care. Thank you. Bye.
Yay. Bye, everyone.
See you in episode 99.